morning folks, and welcome to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join myself, Mrs H and the girls here in Mablethorpe, where we're just about to make our way onto the beach. As you can see, that sea's very inviting for the girls. But as we've been coming down the path, the coastal path, I noticed up in the sand dunes a relic from the Cold War. And I'll show it you now. I'm stood by the side of it. Now, as you can see, it just looks like a drainage chamber, but it's not. It's very similar to the Royal Observer Coast Post that I went and visited in Formby all the way back when I first started making videos. For those of you who need a quick reminder or just fancy watching that video, I'll put a link up now for you. Now, as you can see, this one's in a very similar state of disrepair. It's basically a concrete inner skin with a brick skin on the outside. Now, the reason that they built them like this wasn't for strength, it was to waterproof them. Now, as you can see here, this black on here that looks like paint, that's actually the remains of bitumen, like a tar-based thing, and the idea is that they would dig an hole about 9 metres deep, and then they would put a concrete formation up so they could pour concrete in. When that was dry, they would come along and they would paint it with the bitumen, and then they would put an outer skin, which you can see the remains of there. And the whole idea of that was to waterproof it, because obviously you would have a crew of 4 inside here manning it. And they was using these bunkers right up until 1991. They first started building them in the 50s, and I believe they would cost about £1,000 to build one of these, and that slowly rose to £8,000 until it got to a ridiculous figure, as we all know. I mean, it's testament to how they was built that there's still the remains here. Lord only knows what it looks like inside. I should imagine there's a lot of rubble in there. Originally, there would have been a monitoring room so that they could monitor radiation and fallout. There would be a toilet in there, chemical toilet of course, and there'd be bunks in there for crews to sleep. I should imagine 2 would man it, and another 2 would later take over type of thing. So we're going to take a look on top now and see just what remains of that. I think it's sealed, this one. Anyway, we'll get up there. Well, unfortunately, Hot Potters, it's rather disappointing when you get up here. All that you can see is the access shaft, which has a big heavy plate on it, and very little else. The rest is buried under the sand dunes. Now, normally there would be a ventilation shaft and a BPI pipe. The ventilation shaft was to create fresh air into the bunker below, and the BPI pipe was to allow the occupants to put instruments up so that they could monitor the fallout outside the bunker. Like I said, all that's left is the access shaft, and there would have been some steps there that led up to it. Now, underneath that big thick metal plate, there's a shaft that would lead down about 14 feet. There'd be a metal ladder so that the occupants could descend inside. Now, it's a shame really, as that's not been lifted and we could see inside. So we'll go down now, and I'll wrap this part of the video up. Well, Hot Potters, that was a bit disappointing, wasn't it, really? There wasn't much to see at this particular ROC post. However, fear not, because I've been reliably informed that there's another one of these further down the coast about 8 miles. And that one supposedly has all its surface features, and you can actually get in it. So I think the best thing to do is leave here and reconvene this video 8 miles down the coast at the next ROC post. So, join me in a little while when we'll take a look at the next ROC post. And welcome back. We're now 8 miles down from Mablethorpe at the ROC post that we was having a look at. And this one is called North Sommercotes, which is the next one down in the chain. Now, as you can see, there's quite a few surface structures remain. That's the shaft, which is open. Unfortunately, there's no ladder in it, so I'm not going down. And another reason I won't be going in there, besides there being no ladder, is apparently there's asbestos sheeting in there, so I'm definitely not going where there's asbestos sheeting. However, we can have a look down it, and we can take a little look around this compound. As you can see, they're not really that big, these compounds. You can see the original posts there. There's still some of the chain link fence in there. So we'll go through what the above ground structures are on this one. So we'll take a little look inside it now. As you'll be able to see, it's like a 14-foot drop, and then it opens out into a room below. You can see there's some rubble down there. Obviously the ladder's been deliberately taken off it. You know, but it does look like it's in pretty good condition. You know, the walls are still whitewashed there. And I believe there was some bunks in and that. I'll stick a photo in there of what it last looked like in 1999. Now this particular post only had a very short life. It opened in 1964 and it closed in 1968. So some people may have said that £1,000 that it cost to build these was a bit of a waste of money. Remember, £1,000 was a lot of money back in the 60s. You know, that type of thing. I don't know what the equivalent would be in modern day money. Maybe somebody can work it out and say how much it would have cost. But yeah, it only had 4 years of life. We'll take a little look at the remains of the ventilation shaft, which has been knocked off. It's just over here. We'll take a look now. Right then, this is what would have been the ventilation shaft leading down into this one. As you can see, it's in a similar state of repair to the one we had a look at Billinge. For those of you who's not seen that one, I'll put a link in there. The BPI pipe, where instruments would have come out of, is still visible, and on it there would have been like a dome, and they would have put instruments up from the BPI pipe from inside the monitoring room, and they would have been able to monitor any fallout. Now this little structure here, this platform, was added later. This doesn't belong to this compound originally. That was put here by a gas company so that they could monitor the gas terminal, which is over that way, I think at Mablethorpe. This structure here where the girls are waiting for us, that was for monitoring aircraft apparently. All it is basically is just like a little concrete step. Again, this wasn't original to this site. And then we've just got the concrete post just going round, and you can see that this compound here would have just been off limits. Like I said, it would have been a prohibited place at the time. You know, anybody coming in, it would have been the same as if you'd have broke into Catterick Barracks or any place like that. You know, you would have been prosecuted for mooching about in here during the time of the Cold War. Just like all the other little ROC posts, this one was decommissioned as MOD land in the 1990s at the end of the Cold War, 1991. So that's it. That was a quick little look at some Cold War relics in and around this area of Lincolnshire. So, until the next time folks, from myself, from Mrs H, and from the girls, it is bye-bye for now.